Welcome in. We've made it to MLS Week 37, and that's going to be played this Saturday and Sunday, October 5th and 6th. If we look back to the midweek action this week, we saw a boatload of goals on Wednesday. If you would bet the both teams to score over 2.5, that went 10-4. If you were just betting the over 2.5, that went 11-3. Only 5 of the 28 teams that were playing didn't manage to get on the score sheet, and the average goals per game were 3.71 with 52 combined goals scored. We'll follow those goal scoring trends this weekend in the 4 parlays covering 9 games that I've created for this weekend's MLS Best Bets and Predictions. And if you want more soccer picks, be sure to subscribe to the channel to follow along. Help me out by hitting that like button to this video. Check out the members only section as well for monthly and weekly extra picks. And be sure to share what you're betting in MLS this weekend down there in the comments. You can see the picks from this video in a graphic at the end of the video as well. In the timeline, you can see the timestamps for each game. So let's get started here, starting with Toronto FC and Inter Miami for parlay number 1. 2 messy goals, one from Suarez and a Drake Calendar PK save. Miami clinch the Supporters' Shield on Wednesday, beating Columbus 3-2. It gives Messi his 46th overall trophy in his career. The all-time points record is still on the line, though, for Miami, but they'll need to win here and win in their final game. In MLS, Miami won 3-1 in Miami in July when these teams met, and then in Miami again for the Leagues Cup, it was a wild 4-3 win for the Herons yet again. Miami also won last September in Miami 4-0, so they've been scoring for fun versus TFC of late, but that last game in TO was 2-0 TFC, but that was long before Messi and friends arrived. Insigne missed out on Wednesday's game injured with 2 calf strains, and Bernardeschi got sent off yet again, as has been the case many games this season. So he and Insigne likely both will be out this weekend as well. TFC lost 4-1 on Wednesday, and this could be their last game of the season as they do not play on Decision Day. So this is their last game unless they make the playoffs. Now, they don't play on Decision Day. They're 9th in the standings, and that is the last playoff spot. They have 37 points. But all of Philly with 37, DC with 37, Atlanta with 34, Nashville with 32 can all still jump them, and they have a game in hand on TFC. So it's not looking very good for TFC to make the playoffs. They will definitely need to get the win here, as very likely at least one of those teams will jump them if they don't. Now, who's more motivated, though, here in this game? TFC to make the playoffs? Probably TFC, but they've been poor all season. They've not been winning of late, and they're missing a lot of players. Or will it be Miami, who is going for the all-time points record? You would expect possibly some players to get rested here, maybe Messi, maybe Suarez, but it just depends how badly they want to go for that all-time points record, which they certainly can get, just needing 2 more wins. TFC out players. Miami, I'm probably going to say maybe it's TFC that's more motivated. I just don't think they have the horses to get the win here. They've been in this situation for a while, needing to get wins, and they've still not gotten any. They're winless in 5 games in all competitions, and they've been outscored 9-2 in that time. Miami rarely keeps clean sheets, so maybe Toronto gets on the score sheet, but this also could be a good spot for maybe Miami to get that clean sheet one way or another. I'm going to ask Miami to get 2 goals. Miami over 1.5, and even that by itself could be a good enough straight bet at plus 100. Just to make it a little bit better, let's throw in one more selection. We'll go to Columbus and Philly. Columbus can't catch Miami as they just lost to them this week. They'll switch their focus to holding on to second with Cincinnati right behind them. Philly is 1 point out of the playoffs with the game in hand over 9th place Toronto, like we just talked about. The Crew won 3-1 at home in Leagues Cup and 1-0 on the road in MLS this season between these teams. And that 1-0 win in August is the only road team win between these teams in any of the last 18 meetings. That doesn't look good for Philly here. That's unlikely to change when you consider Columbus at home under Wilfred Nancy has only lost 5 times in 49 games. They're 31, 12-5. They have a plus 59 goal differential, and their only 5 losses in that time have come against Miami this past Wednesday, the Campeones Cup in PKs, the Club America, Seattle recently when they were missing players and down a player, and Cincy earlier this year, and Miami again last year. Betting against the Crew at lower.com field has just not proven to be a very good strategy. The Crew, though, have now gone winless in 3. They have a 3-2 loss, a 2-2 draw, a 1-1 draw, going on to lose in PKs, and a 4-3 win. So there have been lots of goals coming at both ends of the pitch in their games. Philly, too, has seen 3 or more goals in 4 of 5, and in 16 games in all competitions, they've only not scored once, but it was against this Crew team just 7 games ago. So this looks like it could be a both teams to score game. Columbus at home, though, always good. Philly needs to get into the playoffs here. They've been scoring. I'm just going to play it safe. Just ask for a simple over 1.5. Pairing that with the Miami over 1.5 will come in at plus 125 odds. MLS Picks and Parlays. Number 2, Let's go to two games where I like both teams scoring. We'll start with FC Cincinnati and Orlando. Cincy will either finish second or third, Orlando or fourth, but could fall out of the home playoff spots with both New York teams right on their heels. This game is always tight when these teams meet. It was 1-0 Cincy in May, and past scores were 1-0, 0-0, and 1-0 in 2023 and 2022. Now, Cincy have lost their last two. They're winless in 3, with just 2 wins in 8 in all competitions, with recent score lines of 3-2, 2-1, 2-2, and 2-1. Their games have been great. Both teams to score bets of late. And over the last 10 rounds in MLS play, Orlando and Seattle have collected the most points with 22, both being 7-1-2. In all competitions, the Lions have only have 3 regulation losses across their last 18. Now let's look at their past 6 in MLS. There's a 3-0 win, 3-0 win, 2-0 win, 4-3 loss, 3-1 win, and 2-1 win. Now, 4 of those wins all came at home, but still, they've scored 3 goals in the 2 road games as well. But then, in their last 10 road MLS games, Orlando have only 1 clean sheet, and that was against a team that struggled to score in Nashville. Orlando's really hot. They should get on the score sheet. They don't prove capable of keeping too many clean sheets, though. Cincinnati at home should score, but they're out a ton of defenders as well. All the makings to me of a good both teams to score game. And then we'll go to New England and DC United. Now, somehow, New England is still technically alive for the playoffs here with 3 games left and being 6 points back of TFC, but they still have a less than 1% chance. After playing DC this week, they'll face Columbus and Miami. Spoiler alert, they're probably not going to make it. DC is tied with TFC with 37 points, but they are 11th, with Philly between them, and they're in a dogfight with those teams, plus Atlanta and Nashville as well. DC fought back to win 4-3 with Nashville during the week. They were down 3-1 late in the second half, and they're a team fighting for that last playoff spot. Benteke scored again. He leads the Golden Boot race with 22 goals. He's always a great player prop for scoring, but it was Gabriel Pirani who was the star of the day, coming on as a substitute and scoring a brace, 2 goals into stoppage time to tie the game 3-3 and to get the winner for DC to win 4-3. Now, DC, they've only won 1 of their past 4, and they have just 7 wins in 23 in all competitions, but they have scored in 12 of 13. Their only 3 wins in 8 have come, though, against Nashville, Toronto, and Chicago. Not very good teams. But then again, neither is New England. New England lost again 2-1 in Houston, and they only have 1 win in 7. Now, the one positive, though, for the Revs is when they're playing at home, they have only 2 losses in 12 in regulation, and they've scored in all of those 12 games. The both teams to score bet has gone 9-3 in those Revs home games. In February, between these teams, DC won 2-1 at home, and last year the Revs won 2-1 and 4-0. There's been 3 or more goals now in 6 of the past 7 meetings, and New England has scored in each of the past 14 meetings as well. DC needs this win. New England technically needs the win too. It likely matters a little bit less, but they are home. They could be playing a little bit loose. There's a lot of options here. To me, they all look like scoring bets or maybe DC bets. Both teams score. DC the double chance, over 1.5 game goals. Simply DC to score in a parlay. Win or lose, I would think DC can score. They've scored multiple in 7 of 10, but we just talked about how New England always seems to score at home as well. This looks like, again, a good both teams to score game. We'll go both teams to score, New England and DC, with Cincinnati and Orlando both teams to score, coming in at plus 133 odds. Now let's move in to Western Conference games here for the third MLS parlay. We have the Galaxy and Austin. The Galaxy look to lock up first in the West, while Austin, by beating Portland on Wednesday, have cut the gap between themselves in 10th with 39 points and Portland in 9th with 45 points to just 6 points with 2 games left, so they are technically alive for the playoffs. The Wednesday win, though, was Austin's only win in their last 6 and the only time they've kept a clean sheet in those games as well. Now, LA went to Colorado and won 3-1 Wednesday. They won 4-2 last weekend. The Galaxy own the best home record in MLS at 12-3-1, and they've scored the most goals at home with 41. LA rarely draws. In all competitions, they're 14-1-6 in regulation, and that one draw came in Leagues Cup, and they eventually went on to win. All 5 losses in that time were on the road. The one home loss was versus LAFC. Austin won 2-0 at home in April. Home teams have scored 2 or more goals in each of the past 4 head-to-head meetings with these teams. The Galaxy they should win this game. They should also likely score at least 2 goals. At home, they've scored multiple goals in 6 straight and in 12 of their last 13. They're also the first team in MLS history with 4 players to have scored 10 or more goals in the same season. They're loaded with offensive talent and they're dominant at home. They should get the win. They should score at least 2. Let's go LA over 1.5 goals. And we'll go to 2 more games in this parlay. SKC and LAFC. Nothing on the line here for SKC with LAFC have a small chance of catching the Galaxy for first, but it's more likely they're going to be looking to not fall out of the top four and those home field spots in the playoffs. These teams just played in the US Open Cup final, where it was 1-1 in regulation, and then LAFC went on to win 3-1 in extra time. In MLS, though, it was 0-0 in March. LAFC is 5-2-0 undefeated against SKC in the last 7. SKC lost their last game 3-1, and they have 3 straight losses now in all competitions. If we look at MLS, I've been running this stat out all season long. SKC have scored in 27 of 32, conceded in 29 of 32. Both teams' score bets this season have gone 25-7, and it's hit in 8 of the past 11 MLS games. LAFC looks like the obvious pick here for the win, but they've not been very consistent, and there could be some revenge on the line for SKC after that US Open Cup loss. It is also SKC's last home game of the season. One way or another, I just want 2 goals in this game, over 1.5. Next up, San Jose Earthquakes and Real Salt Lake. San Jose has the wooden spoon clinched a long time ago. RSL are 4th. They can still move up, but they can also drop out of the top 4. San Jose won 2-0 in August and 2-1 in the last meeting last season. This matchup usually sees a ton of goals, with 10 straight seeing at least 2, 7 of 10 seeing 3+. 3 of the last 4 have cashed both teams to score and over 2.5 bets. San Jose sprung to life for a rare win on Wednesday at home against RSL. Against Dallas, meanwhile, winning 3-2. Their only win in 6. There's been 3 or more goals scored in a Quakes game now in 5 of the last 6, and this will be their final home game as well. Now, San Jose they don't win often at home, but they have scored in 5 straight and also in 10 of their last 12. RSL haven't won in 3 games, but they have just 1 loss in 6. They've scored multiple goals now in 4 of 6, but their last 3 games have all been draws: 3-3, 2-2, and then 0-0 on Wednesday against Minnesota. That 0-0 is the only game in 14 for RSL where there's not been 2 or more goals. Let's bet on that trend coming back for at least 2 goals in this game, over 1.5 between San Jose and RSL, paired with over 1.5 with SKC and LAFC, and the Galaxy to score at least 2. That comes in at -115. Now let's move in to Sunday. There are 2 games on Sunday to round out MLS Week 27, and the first one is New York City FC and Nashville SC. New York are 2 points behind Orlando for 4th for the home field spots in the playoffs, so they're going to want to win to get a chance at that. Meanwhile, Nashville have likely seen their playoff spots and dreams go up in smoke after they coughed up a 3-1 lead against DC and lost 4-3 Wednesday. They're 4 points back of the playoffs with 3 teams between them in 13th and Toronto 9th. They have a 1% chance of making the playoffs, so it's very unlikely here. It was just a 1-0 Nashville win in June. It was in the brief 5-game history between these teams. Nashville is 3-1-1, and a road team has never won. After an embarrassing 5-1 loss to Philly, New York City drew 1-1 with Miami, blew out rivals the Red Bulls 5-1, and beat Cincinnati 3-2 on Wednesday. New York City may have only those 2 wins in 8 in all competitions. However, they have scored a goal in 11 straight games. Wednesday was Nashville's last home game, and they blew it. Morale has to be low, I would think, right now after blowing that chance of staying alive in the playoffs. But it's been low for a while, as the Yotes in all competitions are 2-1-12 since June 29th. Those 2 wins have come against non-playoff teams, Chicago and Atlanta. I would think New York wins. I certainly expect New York to score. Portland and Dallas wraps up MLS Week 37. Portland missed a chance to lock up the playoffs, losing to Austin this week, and they now are only 6 points above the Verde with 2 games to go. Dallas' season came to an official end Wednesday, losing 3-2 to San Jose, the Wooden Spoon leaders. Dallas won in Frisco in July, 3-2, but other scores between these teams have been relatively tight: 1-0, 1-1, and 1-1 in 2023 and 2022. You can't trust Dallas to win after losing to San Jose, seeing their playoff dreams end, and having just 2 wins in 10 games. This should be a letdown here, and maybe they get up for the home finale in next weekend. The both teams scoring over 2.5 is 6-1 in recent Dallas games, so we could see goals. The total goals in those games have been 5, 4, 4, 5, 0, 5, and 7. The Timbers are slumping a little bit here at a bad time as the season comes to a close. They have 0 wins in 3, 1 win in 5, and just 2 wins in 8. The both team to score bet, though, has continued to cash, going 6-2 in the last 8. The Timbers need to lock up the playoffs here, and they're at home. The 39 goals scored when they're playing at home are only fewer than the Galaxy's 41, and tied with Miami's 39 as well. They got shut out and lost at home on Wednesday, but they have gone 9-2-0 in the previous 11 home games in all competitions, and they had scored multiple goals in 10 of those 11 games. Let's bet on that coming back here against the Dallas team that lets in goals all over the place and has nothing to play for. Let's go Portland over 1.5 goals with New York City over 0.5 goals. It comes in at minus 150 over at Caesars. Now, I do think both of these home teams can win, and that would certainly give you better odds than that minus 150. The minus 150 just makes the cut for me for the amount of juice I'm willing to pay there for this parlay. So let's go with that for me. New York to score, Portland to score 2. That will wrap up my MLS Week 27 predictions. I'll put all these picks in a graphic at the end of this video that you can check out. Whatever you're betting, let's hope to all get some winners this weekend.